And this is Zach Ertz. Kind of came out of nowhere. People were kind of worried about his health a little bit in that spot. Comes back, does score that touchdown in overtime as well, which I know was a pretty big swing for some people's season-long teams. But that's a lot of routes, guys. In terms of his weighted opportunity, something we talk about a wide receiver a lot, but also very valid at tight end. Travis Kelce, 0.67. That's a huge number for tight ends. So let's just, in terms of wide receivers, like that would be the fourth highest weighted opportunity on the slate, and Kelce is a tight end. So against Denver, 6,500 for Kelce. I haven't played Kelce in a long time. So I never really feel like I get there in roster construction, but hard to argue with that type of ceiling. Darren Waller against Jacksonville, obviously a decent matchup, 25th against the tight end, running a ton of routes. His weighted opportunity is pretty solid. Nice team total there. Yeah, at the top, I think all those guys are squarely in play, but Zach Ertz, this spot against Washington, one of the worst teams in the league at defending the tight end. So we do know that. 31st in the league. It's actually just a little bit smaller so you guys can see the matchup side of it as well. 31st against the tight end. It's a lot of routes. Don't hate that. Our boy Michael Gesicki, we talked about the injuries at the wide receiver position a little bit for Miami. If it just ends up being a little bit more volume for Gesicki, I'd be in on that for sure. The Giants, if they do one thing relatively well on defense, it is kind of defend the tight end position. So 6th against the position, something to think about. Gesicki, someone that like had some spike games for us this year, but he's also underperformed in some pretty decent spots. So the price is nice though, so I like that quite a bit. If you don't want to go Zach Ertz, maybe you just go Dallas Goedert on the other side. Obviously, seeing a guy like Alshon Jeffrey go down again. Stories of the week so far just seem to be all this injury news that we have so far. So, again, that's a decent price point, 4,300. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, I guess, now that I say that. But pretty solid there. I mean, both these guys are running a ton of routes. I think, of course, you would prefer Ertz in a perfect world, but 4,300 seems like a decent spot for him as well. What else we got in the chat? Let's get the chat involved here. Who else do you guys want to look at? Higbee, Fant, Carolina. Yeah, all right, let's look at Higbee. 3,900. Okay. Nice total. Like that. Decent weighted opportunity. Not as many routes as I would like to see, but yeah, he hasn't been. I mean, obviously, his role has been different most recently, right? So yards per route run, this is typically where we're going to find a little bit of upside at the position. Guys like Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller. Yeah, I don't hate that. So it looks like LA just in general is going to make their tight ends go down the field a little bit further. So maybe Higbee at 3,900 has a decent amount of upside in the spot against Dallas. I don't hate that. My guy, Noah Fant. Talk about Noah Fant since he was like 2,500. He's finally having some big games, which is awesome to see. Kansas City, really tough spot. I don't think people are going to click him again this week. From a pure volume perspective, there's probably better options, but from an upside perspective, we've seen what Noah Fant can give you at lower ownership. So bringbacks, the KC stacks, if you don't want to go Kelce, a cheaper Noah Fant might make some sense there in tournaments. Let's see, Waller is freed. Yeah, no more Foster Moreau. Good call. Maybe it's just Darren Waller, 5,500. Kind of in a weird price point, but decent upside. Ian Thomas or OJ Howard? Oh, OJ Howard this has just been something that I guess would prefer not to exist. But yeah, now that Evans is out, I could get on board with some OJ Howard for sure. Cooper is an interesting one. He's 5K, so like a little bit cheaper than Darren Waller. Again, now that Calvin Ridley's out, maybe he just ends up eating into a lot of that volume, leaving him behind. San Francisco, the best team in the league at defending tight ends. Take that for what it's worth. Atlanta is a team that's been throwing a decent amount lately. Wonder if losing Peppers hurts the New York Giants tight end defense. 100%. I think that's a really sharp call. So yeah, if we're just kind of looking at that, maybe Gesicki is a little bit of a better play than we originally kind of anticipated. Really good call, man. That's why we do this live. We have people like Nate throwing out like really important nuggets like Peppers hurt for the Giants. So that's awesome, man. I like him a lot more after you said that. He's our guy this week at tight end. I feel like there's a lot of different ways to go. What do you guys think about Jacob Hollister versus Carolina? He's like a guy that I almost always kind of default to a little bit when I'm trying to pair with Russell Wilson, 3,800. I mean, the reason I was wondering is that the team total is so great, right? He is running an okay amount of routes. His target share is not great. Projecting him for a decent amount of catches, at least 3.9 catches for a tight end is nothing to sneeze at. Carolina 27th against the tight end. I don't hate Hollister, actually. Like Hollister versus Goddard, I think that's a conversation we can have. He does get end zone targets for sure. And he's on the field. Sometimes that's enough at this position. Let's see. Will Ingram be back? I don't believe so. Let's see if we have anything. That would change things for sure for the Giants. I mean, they're getting healthier. Well, nothing since he was ruled out last night against the Eagles. So, yeah, monitor Evan Ingram. How many wide receiver will Philly have? I don't know. They've been running so many tight end sets lately that it's something we're going to have to kind of work through as well. Excited to see how roster construction shakes out. Doesn't seem like I need to pay down a tight end this week. It's a lot of like my initial take is that it seems like kind of a mid-range approach at roster construction could be the way to go this week. So, I guess flowchart. What do you guys think about David Njoku against Arizona? Ran 9 routes last week. In total, though, obviously a fantastic matchup. I don't know if I'll be able to look that one personally. Is there anyone really cheap, like sub 3K? What's Irv Smith's price? I love me some Irv Smith. 2,900 against the Chargers. Not a great matchup, obviously, but be worse than that type of mega punt, I feel like. Ben Watson in Cincinnati. Running a lot of routes. Really not seeing a ton of targets on those routes. Yeah, 4,200 kind of sketchy considering you don't know how much he's playing. Yeah. Very true. All right, so I think that's pretty much it for me at tight end, guys. This is like one that like it's only a few things we're really looking at. We want volume. We want guys running routes. Matchup at the tails is important for sure. So we'll work on this a little bit more as the week goes on. Let's talk about defense. So at the defense position, want to focus on is good game script. So teams that ideally are favorites. We also want to target quarterbacks that take sacks, that throw picks. Pretty simple. Targeting poor offensive lines because pressure is something that is very important. Getting a lot of awesome pressure rate data from Sports Info Solutions every single week. So we're paying attention to teams that are pressuring a lot. Done pretty well until last week, honestly, at kind of identifying some really cheap defenses. So right off the hop, Dallas at 2,800 against Jared Goff at home. Jared Goff, someone that we know will throw picks, doesn't take a ton of sacks, which is interesting, but targeting Goff on the road is interesting as well. Want pass attempts on the other side, ideally, right? And decent amount of passing attempts for the Rams and for Jared Goff. So that's a really interesting one. I don't hate that. Goff actually is projected for the 3rd most pass attempts on the slate. So Dallas at 2,800 seems like my initial kind of cheaper favorite, at least. I've probably mentioned Arizona too many times this year, but at 2,200, they're still a price that stands out to me based on how much they do pressure. In this spot against Baker, I think that one could be decent. What else we got here? Let's look at some poor offensive lines. Paying up for New England against Andy Dalton, that could be fine. I haven't paid up a ton for defense this year, but definitely think that that's something we get into. Yeah, I think people are still going to play. People are going to play Cleveland against Kyler this week. Kyler will take sacks. We know that. Tough offensive line situation in Arizona. Cleveland's a team that, again, 39.5% pressure rate. It's a great pressure rate number. I wish they were a little bit cheaper. We're just talking about from a defense perspective. So we got. Let's find some. Let's see if we have some really cheap options. Cincinnati against Tom Brady. I did the Tom Brady thing this year with Dallas once. He just doesn't take sacks. Is not willing to really throw picks. He's just going to throw it away. So I'm not really actively trying to target with that. 1,800 is interesting. A lot of pass attempts. I learned my lesson targeting Tom Brady in fantasy. What else? Mentioned Arizona. Maybe Jacksonville against Derek Carr, pass attempts on the other side. I don't know. Derek Carr is another one that just doesn't take a lot of chances, really. I really like this Dallas spot, 2,800. I think they might be the cover boy. Someone's asking about the Titans. Let's look, and the Lions. Let's look at the Lions too. So Detroit, that's a team that doesn't pressure enough for me. This is like, maybe it's a hole of mine. 2,300 against Jameis. Yeah. For Jameis to really make a lot of mistakes, I would want to see him under pressure first, and I'm not sure that's going to happen. Detroit's kind of content to sit back a little bit. Same thing with Tennessee. I will say Tennessee has been pressuring more lately, and this is a yearly number. Once I have my sheet for you guys on Sunday, the updated one, I will have the last 4 games number for you guys, and that's something that Tennessee was doing a lot better in. And targeting Deshaun Watson, and talking about guys that take sacks. So I prefer the Tennessee play to the Detroit play, for sure. Targeting Dwayne Haskins, that's been something else that we can certainly do. Phillies, 3,400. Yeah, Philly's got to be one of the better raw points plays on the slate. I think probably Philly, Cleveland, Kansas City or something like that as in terms of raw points. I like Philly quite a bit. Let's see. Jameis throwing with 4 fingers. He's going to make mistakes without pressure. That's fair point, Misk. Fair point. Maybe they are a little bit better, but they're definitely not going to get a ton of pressure. Yeah. Pretty self-explanatory for me this week, guys. Outside of quarterbacks that really struggle under pressure, Drew Lock, Ryan Tannehill, Russell Wilson, in terms of their yards per attempt at least. Yeah, I don't love a lot of these. I think Tennessee maybe is the one that kind of gets another pick in their direction in terms of that, but kind of sticking to some of these large favorites, though. Matt Ryan's someone that's made some mistakes this year for sure. San Francisco at 3,800. Tough price tag on those guys, though. Would it be dumb to take Kyler and Brown's D? Yeah, we'll wrap up on this. So, ideally, you don't want to correlate your quarterback with your defense, but the people that I guess would argue against that in terms of like Jameis, the way that it does help you, and we'll play the other side of it too, is I think quarterbacks that throw more picks. So if there's going to be a pick 6, obviously your quarterback's just going to get the ball back. Who cares? It's another drive. Obviously, it helps game script as well. For Kyler, I don't know if it changes a lot because he's just someone that's going to take a ton of sacks, right? So maybe you get a strip sack, something like that would make sense. I think it makes more sense targeting someone that throws a lot of picks than someone that takes sacks is kind of my feeling. If you want to learn more about how to be a profitable DFS player and how to get better at betting, start now by hitting the subscribe icon in the bottom right-hand corner so you don't miss anything. If you want to take your game to that next level, make sure you're hanging out with us live on Twitch next time. Twitch.tv/Joe Holka. We'll see you there.